I freed the alien beautiful girl. Now she won't sleep without claiming my throat. She arrived in chains under a winter sky, and the dock lights shivered like tired moons. Claire watched the patrol haul her across the landing bay and saw how the girl kept her chin high, small but fierce eyes like blue glass skin, with a faint silver-tone hair like pale smoke. Claire felt the old pull of duty and the new pull of shame. She had seen too many crates and too many callers this time. Her heart would not pretend. Megan from intake whispered that the buyer was late and the papers were wrong. Brooke from med said the girl had no family listed, no planet listed. No rights at all. Nora from security said, "Do not get involved." Claire heard them. And still, her feet moved. She walked to the dockmaster and offered a trade. Her shifts for a month, her hazard pay, her spare quarters. The dockmaster laughed a thin laugh and waved her away, but the delay grew long and the buyer never came. Rules like to look strong until a clock makes them soft by dusk. The dockmaster wanted the cage gone. Claire signed a transfer and said the girl would be safe with her. Ashley from records adjusted the entry and looked away. Kate from supplies handed a blanket and a simple dress. The collar clicked off and fell like a dead insect on the floor. The girl stood free and did not run. She studied Claire with slow, careful breaths. Then she stepped near and placed one cool hand at the base of Claire's neck. Her fingers rested over the place where a pulse lives. Claire felt her heartbeat rise and tried not to flinch. "I am Claire," she said in a steady voice. "You are safe here." The girl nodded once and kept her hand on that spot like it was a rule. They reached Claire's small quarters. The heater rattled the window, hummed. The bunk was narrow. The girl moved lightly through the room and touched the edge of the pillow. Then she looked at Claire again and lifted her hand to that same point on Claire's throat. She waited like a door that wants a key. Claire set tea on the table and broke bread. The girl tasted both and watched the steam. When night pressed on the window, she lay down on the bunk and then sat up again. Her eyes searched the shadows that never relaxed. At last, she stood beside Claire and placed her hand at that living place again. Her head bowed a little as if listening to a tide. Claire understood a part of it, some species anchored to a sound or a scent or a rhythm maybe. This girl needed the drum of a human pulse to sleep. She pulled a chair next to the bunk. The girl eased down and curled close to Claire's shoulder. Her breath fell into the same beat as Claire's heart, and the tension slid away within minutes. She slept calm and deep. Claire sat still for a long time and guarded. Her rest. Morning came pale and soft. Megan brought fruit and a smile that tried to be brave. Brooke checked the girl with a gentle scanner and said the tissues were underfed but strong. Nora stood at the door and warned that a missed buyer might return with teeth. Claire thanked him and kept her own worries quiet. The girl woke and kept the ritual, a hand to Claire's throat, a pause to find the rhythm, a small nod of trust. She followed Claire down the hall and held to that touch when a door hissed or a voice rose. People stared and some laughed. Claire ignored it all and walked steady. They reached the workshop and the day moved in quiet. Steps. The girl learned tools by watching and learned danger by the lift of Claire's brow. She liked the soft whir of fiber spools and the warm smell of solder when a coil sparked. She pressed closer and found the pulse again. Her breath matched it, and her fear fell like snow into deep water. By noon, a coded message flashed on Claire's screen. The buyer had sent new forms and a threat: return the asset or expect a visit. Nora read the line and locked the door. Megan went pale. Brooke clenched her jaw. Claire felt the room tilt, then steady. She looked at the girl, who stood ready and calm except for the hand that searched for that anchor. Claire lifted the girl's fingers and set them where the heartbeat lived. "We will not let them take you," she said. The girl closed her eyes and breathed with her. That night, they moved to a safer wing. Ashley cleared a path in the system and erased the dock logs. Kate stacked boxes as decoys and stashed clothes and food. The girl helped without a word. When it was time to sleep, she made the same quiet request, and Claire gave the same quiet answer. A chair pulled near a bunk, a hand placed over a pulse, and a small body. Finally, at peace, the visit came on the second dawn, boots on metal, a lift whining open. A voice that tried to own the air. Nora met them in the hall with calm eyes and a badge that spoke in clear laws. The man who led the group wore a smooth coat and a smooth grin. He called himself a broker and held a claim. Claire watched him glance at the girl like a farmer eyes. A marked calf. Brooke spoke of medical holds. Megan spoke of intake errors. Ashley added rules from the Charter of Travelers. The broker smiled at every word and pushed a new thread across. The table he had friends and places that like money more than Mercy. Claire asked for a private talk, and Nora agreed. They stepped into the side room where the lights buzzed. Low. Claire said the station did not trade people. The broker said the station would trade peace to keep its doors open to paths only. He said, and both ended with him. The door clicked and went dark. The air thinned. A quiet hum rose in the floor. The broker smirked and waited for fear to do his work. Then the girl stood in the doorway, and the hum faltered. She moved with a grace. Like a tide crossing rock, her hand rose and found Claire's neck. As if drawing a map, she faced the broker and spoke at last in a voice. Like wind through a hollow shell, not yours, she said. Her accent held a round music, and her words were simple. She touched the floor with her bare heel, and the hum changed. Pitch lights, steadied locks, opened by themselves. Like metal remembering a promise. The broker stepped back and showed his teeth. Security shouted beyond the door, and boots ran. Nora burst in with 2 officers, and the room brightened. The girl kept her hand on that living place, and kept her eyes on the broker. Claire felt the beat under her skin. Grow strong and sure, the station answered. Its panels along the wall slid open and old. Emergency codes scrolled up like river reeds in wind. Ashley stared and whispered that the Corps was listening. Brooke whispered that the girl carried a resonance key. Inside her body, Megan just said, "Oh." Nora set the broker in cuffs and read him charges. He tried to laugh, but it sounded thin. The girl stepped close to him and tilted her head. Her eyes showed neither hate nor fear. Only a long, tired knowing. More ships arrived in the days that followed. Some came with threats, some came with offers. Claire kept the girl near and learned her name in pieces. Rila for river, Sarin for silver, Luma for light. She would answer to all but spoke little. Still at night the ritual never changed. Even when sirens called, even when doors shook, a hand sought the steady drum under Claire's skin and found shelter there. Claire stayed still and calm and let the heartbeat do its work. The station seemed to breathe with them. Vents softened their hiss lights. Dimmed to a gentle tide one evening, an envoy docked. Without noise or flags for women, stepped out in simple coats. Their eyes held the same blue glass, and their hair carried the same. Pale smoke. They bowed to Rilla, and to Claire they offered papers that did not lie, and a history that did not wound. They spoke of a world that hid in the folds of storms, a people hunted for their inner song, a people who could speak to fields and circuits by touch and breath. Rilla had been taken in a raid and sold. Across 3 ports the envoy said her name with care and waited. Rilla stood between them and Claire and shook like a leaf but did not break. She placed her hand on Claire's throat and listened. Then she stepped to the envoy and placed her hand on each of their throats. One by one she found the beat in them and nodded her eyes, asked a final thing of Claire without words. Claire smiled and placed her own hand over Ryla's heart. The rhythm there felt swift and bright. Go when you choose, she said. Remember this drum when dark things rise. Rila hugged her with a sudden fierce strength. Then she turned back and looked at the small room, the narrow bunk, the rattling heater. She lifted her hand and claimed that living place. Once more, just for a breath, the message was clear. The anchor was not a cage, it was a promise both ways. The envoy led Rila away. The station side Nora clapped Claire on the shoulder. Megan cried and laughed. Brooke sat and let her shoulders drop for the first time in days. Ashley updated the logs with words that felt like a prayer. Weeks later, a small package arrived with no stamp and no seal inside. Lay a bracelet woven from strands of pale metal and soft fiber. When Claire wore it, the air near her seemed to hum in a kind low key at night when sleep would not come. She pressed 2 fingers to that same place at her neck. The drum was steady. The promise held. One dawn, the dock lights flickered like friendly stars. Claire looked up and saw a small ship slide in with the ease of a swan on water. The ramp dropped. Rilla walked down with calm steps and bright eyes. No chains. No caller, no fear. She reached Claire and placed her hand at the anchor she loved. Sleep can wait, she said, with a smile. First, we build a home that listens, and the station began. To listen in, truth machines tuned themselves to gentle tides. Alarms learned to sing warnings. Without panic, doors learned to open like kind hands. People learned to walk with softer heels and steadier hearts. Each night, Rila would still rest her hand at that living drum before she slept, not from fear now, but from joy that the beat was close and free. Claire would breathe with her, and the quiet would wrap them. Like a safe shore, humanity had given Rila a harbor.